If you haven't checked
It's
out
okay. I can edit it a little bit to have that done.
If you haven't checked out the latest Steem sorting, it's really taken off. There's a lot of engagement. I'm pleased to see Fuzzy's asking the questions on the Beyond Bitcoin thread. It's going to keep it at the top of Steemit's main page until conversation dies down. So this is really good. One of the things I've been thinking about was the possibility to put meta layers on top of both BitShares and on top of Steem using the custom operations. Anyone can publish arbitrary data
and build a secondary level consensus.
Based upon the because people can broadcast to the blockchain and have their messages tied to their accounts, you can build all kinds of applications that integrate and build combined consensus. So that means it's possible to develop arbitrary smart coins on BitShares. BitShares is a little bit more powerful here because it has the basic features of the coins. But if you don't need to interact with the other economic systems on the blockchain, you can take advantage of all the infrastructure and just have your own consensus or smart contract that operates off-chain, interpreting the transactions that are on-chain. That's a great way to build meta applications onto the blockchain. So if you're someone like the ElectricChain and you want to publish solar statistics onto a blockchain, you can do so on both BitShares and Steem. If you want to blog about your particular solar installation and then tie your statistics to it, you can do that on Steem. If you want to trade solar credits that you've earned somehow, you can do that on BitShares. So it seems like there's lots of options here. The benefit of using these meta custom operations is you don't have to do the consensus or operate nodes or get a whole bunch of witnesses to operate nodes in order to build your own custom blockchain, if you will. It's particularly nice on Steem because your users don't have to pay transaction fees to use your custom blockchain. Eventually, BitShares will get those features if it funds development or finds volunteers to get that type of thing done in the short term. Or eventually, maybe people working on BitShares can talk about what they're doing and how it can integrate with what we're doing on Steem, and maybe Steem votes can pay for it. But there's lots of opportunities there to integrate the two. I hope that answers Bob the Poster's questions from the thread. Does anyone have any other questions for me?
Well, maybe it's a stupid question or very easy to answer, but I was wondering when you want to do a post on Steem, how do you have like the title, the category, and then you have like a little summary which is basically showing up in the timeline, and how do you get a picture in there? I always try it, but it never really works. Any answer here?
Technically, all you should have to do is paste the link in there. It has to be an HTTPS link. to get a picture in there. You can also use a markdown to get pictures in there. This is under rapid development, so there are some bugs where sometimes we don't substitute the image right. So we basically look at the URL and we fetch data about it to figure out if it's an image, and if it is an image, then we replace the link with an image.
Just to make it easy on anybody who's listening who is very interested in doing this on Steem, I have found that if you go to Imgur and you upload an image there, it will literally give you, share this image, and it'll give you 5 different versions. It'll give you 5 different versions, and you can literally, at the bottom, click on Markdown, and it says in parentheses beside it, Reddit, and it'll copy and paste and allow you to paste the syntax properly directly into Steem, and that image will then show up.
I believe the reason you need to have HTTPS images is because Steemit is HTTPS, and so the browser doesn't allow you to mix and match requests between HTTP and HTTPS. And we need it to be HTTPS to make sure there's no man in the middles replacing our JavaScript with something that could steal your private key. So all images will have to be served by JavaScript. One of the things that we are working on in the background is the ability to upload images directly to Steemit, have them hosted on IPFS, and caching images from other locations to IPFS, so that if you do post something from Imgur or whatever, we'll fetch it from them, store it on IPFS, and then substitute it with an IPFS link right in your editor. That way, the blockchain represents the actual image that was desired, and there's a permanent record of that versus just pointing to a location that could change.
So the official Steem dollar quote unquote experiment, as it were, that's what goes online as of July 4th, correct? That's when that's sort of officially the Steem dollars or Steem dollars become in circulation at that point?
That is correct. Around that time, about 5% of the market cap of Steem will be in the form of Steem dollars. It will be in the hands of people who are posting and receiving votes. At that time, we also get to experiment with the liquidity rewards on the blockchain. So liquidity rewards are going to be relatively massive compared to the anemic liquidity Steem has on the centralized exchanges right now. On the order of, I guess at today's valuation, a couple $100 per hour of rewards to liquidity providers. So I think that's going to cause a huge competition for bots and all kinds of people placing orders, and it's going to be a sight to behold. That's for sure.
And those rewards will then be paid in Steem dollars as well?
Rewards are paid in vesting or Steem power. So you don't get to cash out immediately with your rewards, but you do benefit from long-term stake in the project.
So real quick, the vesting stake, the new word that is planned to be used for this would be Steem power, correct?
Yes.
So you gain Steem power. That Steem power is then added to your voting power, essentially, is because that's what it is.
Yes.
And then at some point in time in the future, if you want to say, you know what, I want to get rid of some of this voting power and I want it to pay out to me every week over the course of X amount of months, or well, actually 2 years, I think is what it is.
104 equal weekly payments.
Okay, so 104 weekly payments, you said?
Yes, 2 years.
Okay, so essentially from there, I can cash out, but it's going to take away my voting power, or at least a portion of it, depending on how much I want to cash out. And then I'm going to wait over the course of 2 years to receive all of that.
You still have your voting power, but each week it'll fall by about 1% as it gets converted from Steem power to Steem, which can then be transferred to exchanges and sold. I suspect that what will actually end up happening is you'll trade Steem for Steem dollars on the blockchain, because that will be the most liquid market if everything goes well. And once you have Steem dollars, you transfer those to an exchange and trade out from there.
Does that answer any questions people might have had? And sorry, Crypto, I just wanted to kind of bounce on top of that because we brought up the vesting stake and we haven't really talked too much about it, but the Steem power has been mentioned once before, just to try to keep people from getting confused and misconstruing vesting and as not being the same thing as Steem power.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, I wanted to ask a question again, and I know that this has been brought up before, but maybe just to clarify once again. So users will be able to, there will be a Steem dollar exchange on the internal exchange. Is there a user issued asset function on Steem, or is it just Steem tokens and the dollars that are traded on that internal exchange?
It does not support user-issued assets, although you could implement a user-issued asset using custom operations, but it would not be tradable against other assets. It'd be its own little self-contained, almost like its own mini blockchain. So it's not like BitShares where you can create an asset and then trade it on an internal exchange.
Which is why you've said in the past that Steem will not be a competitor to BitShares.
Yeah, not in the direct sense, right? Yeah,
Sure.
it's serving a different market. The reason why we have an internal exchange is because dollars and rewarding liquidity is a way that we are boosting the ease of understanding for users of Steemit. Give them a token that they're not feeling the need to sell because it's not going anywhere in terms of value. In fact, it's earning them interest. So our goal is to try to keep as much capital in the blockchain and grow it rather than having people attempt to cash out as quickly as they can.
This is a good question by G-Chicken here. He said, will Steem have a PM feature in the future and any plans? And I'll add on to that about notification feature when somebody has responded to your posts or directly messaged you in the case of what G-Chicken's talking about.
Some people have already built a notification system through Telegram. So anyone can actually build that type of infrastructure. Excuse me. As far as private messaging, yes, we've implemented private messaging at the blockchain level with custom operations. That's still in a beta alpha stage, subject to change, but it is there. Yeah, I think it's a critical part to allow people to coordinate and communicate on the blockchain. You'll be able to communicate privately where the content of your message is secret, but the source and destination is public. And you'll have persistence, so you don't have to check it constantly. Anyone can log in once a month or once a year, and you'll get your messages, which makes Steem, I think, one of the first or only P2P messaging system that's non-real time with storage of your messages. You can handle a lot more messages, and it also doesn't have any fees. So I think it's an interesting niche all in its own right.
Oleg from Emercoin is saying, is communication message stored in the blockchain?
Yes, everything is stored on the blockchain, which means that the full nodes are going to have to store a ton of data. It's going to be, there's a maximum amount of bandwidth at any particular point in time, which is the rate at which the blockchain can grow. And the witnesses have control over what that rate is. We store all that on the blockchain so that it's there. Obviously, for new nodes that want to sync up, it's probably easier to have a snapshot. It's not needed for consensus. You could completely prune the private data from the blockchain and still reach consensus on everything else. But we've sort of adopted an open policy on putting data on the blockchain, recognizing that the people running the full nodes are going to have resources and the ability to scale up to handle it. We're not going to try to pretend that anyone who wants to run a full node on their home computer will be able to do so. That just doesn't scale to the size of Reddit or the size of anything. And so once you realize that you're not going to reach that level of decentralization, then the computational resources to keep all that information around and to synchronize it is insignificant at data center levels.
Oleg from Emercoin here is asking, do you have mechanisms for protecting the blockchain from malicious inflation? For example, enemies can specially create a set of big messages.
Sure. The blockchain uses bandwidth allocation. Each user owns a percentage of the available bandwidth proportional to their stake. And if they try to consume more bandwidth than that, the transaction will be rejected. So yeah, it's kind of hard for someone to get too malicious and just trying to broadcast large messages because they will be rate limited severely.
So does this mean that, say, somebody who wants to post a book's worth of information, I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but I suspect that it probably has on Reddit at some point in time. Is a user who's going to add a bunch of content, are they going to be locked from doing that, even if it's legitimate content?
If they don't own enough of the network in terms of Steem vesting, Steem power, then yes, they will be blocked from posting once they reach the maximum bandwidth per week for their relative to their stake. So Ken Code asked me to explain this like it's 5. I have a blog post where I first introduced the idea on, someone could probably find it and post it to the channel. It's on bytemaster.github.io. Probably should move that blog post to Steemit. But the analogy we use is every block is a fixed amount of bandwidth, just like internet bandwidth. And everyone is competing to use that. So if we're all in a giant co-op, then each person would have a right to use a share of the bandwidth. Now, normally, that means we either need excessive bandwidth, or most people would have so little that they couldn't do anything, right? So if you did 100% reserve so that everyone could post as much as they want, there'd be a lot of unused capacity, because generally speaking, we don't all use the blockchain or the internet at the same time. So you have to do what the ISPs do. They do fractional reserve, where they say, yes, we're giving you this bandwidth, but our backend servers know that if everyone attempted to use it at the same time, they'd be unable to deliver. The blockchain does the same kind of thing. It has a virtual bandwidth, which says that we're going to pretend we've got 10 megabytes of bandwidth when we only have 1 megabyte, which means that your percentage is as if it's the percentage of 10 megabytes. But if the blockchain starts getting full, we throttle that back down until we're at full saturation. It turns into 100% reserve, which means if you own 1% of the network, you can consume 1% of the available bandwidth. So end result with the algorithm, over time, we gradually increase the virtual bandwidth, and whenever there's a surge, we rapidly fall back. It kind of works like TCP/IP, where your bandwidth will increase until you drop a packet, and then it falls by half. That's sort of what we do here.
Looks like Ken is satisfied with this answer. I still believe that it's a very intelligent 5-year-old, though.
If I have Steam power in a Steemit.com account and I power down, how can I send those Steem to another account?
When you power down, you'll wait a week, and then you'll get your first payout of Steem. Once you got a payout in Steem, you have a Steem liquid balance and a Steem power balance shown in your wallet. There'll be a transfer button next to your liquid balance. When you click that, a dialog will pop up. It'll ask you which account you'd like to send it to, and I'll give you the option to put a memo and then send it away. Then every week thereafter, you'll get another payout and you can transfer it.
Is that option available now? Because when I click on transfers, I don't see any way to transfer it to another account.
It should be available now if you have Liquid Steem in your account.
No, I don't have Liquid Steem.
Yeah, if you don't have Liquid Steem, we don't show the option because you can't transfer Steem power.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Once upon a time, did you hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. I keep thinking that there won't be any more questions, but you guys are full of them today. Silly question, G Chicken S. If I don't want to sell transfer my Steem, will I be better to leave it vested instead of powering down and revesting the amount released weekly?
If you were able to do that perfectly efficiently, yeah, it'd be as if nothing happened. When the weekly time arrives, you'd divest at the rate and you'd revest at the same rate. You'd end up with the same amount of vest as if it didn't happen. The only downside is you'd have to run a bot to do it, and you'd be consuming your available bandwidth. So, no, you're not better off by doing that. The only benefit to doing that every week is it gives you some a bit of flexibility. If you decide that you might want to sell, you can, on average, be 3 days away from getting something that you can sell instead of being 1 week from being something you can sell. But that's relatively small in the scheme of things. So I hope that answers your question.
But go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. This is the ElectricChain.
Hello, Francois.
Sorry to interrupt, actually.
You're fine. Actually, this is, I'm trying to bring in other cryptocurrencies to talk to us about what they're doing. So if you have any questions about Steem, feel free to ask.
Or you don't even have to talk about Steem per se. I certainly don't want to monopolize all this Steem stuff. This is about more than just what we're doing here. Now that you're ready, I think you guys can continue with what you're doing.
Well, thank you for the question and answer section. And if you guys are good, we can do this. We can start on maybe either Cryptoprometheus and data or ElectricChain.
Well, can I make a short announcement request for Echo and BitShares Munich?
Sure. How about this? Why don't we do this? Bytemaster started out doing some question and answer while we were trying to figure some stuff out for ElectricChain. Now that he has most of that handled, would you guys mind if we start the actual, I can do the introduction and then later on I can cut out the part that Bytemaster had and put it in after the introduction? Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, that sounds good, Fuzzy.
Cool. I just want to make sure that we fit this stuff in there. So, okay, just real quick before I start, anybody who is not familiar with this process, go ahead and if you want to record, feel free to press that little red dot up in the taskbar of the toolbar of the Mumble client. That is your free press pass. So you can record and keep it or, do whatever you want with it. As long as you're not editing it to make it sound like we're saying things that we aren't saying. Okay, and with that said, let me go ahead and get started. So if anybody who is not familiar, I'm going to give you like 5 seconds, 10 seconds to go ahead and push that red button and start recording. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Okay, it looks like there's no questions, so well, let's go ahead and start with it. Welcome everyone to another Beyond Bitcoin Hangout. Today is Friday, May 13th, 2016. We're joined today by the Beyond Bitcoin community. These are passionate crypto advocates from BitShares ecosystem and other crypto ecosystems. The powerful thing about BitShares is that we have a blockchain-based decentralized exchange. So it would be silly for us not to reach out and bring out the most incredible technologies and passionate people that we see in the space. So we like to invite everyone who is interested in joining up to talk about their projects in the space to do so and have conversations among one another and potentially form alliances and all of the valuable things that can come from this. So with that said, what I'm going to do is we like to every week provide a quick like a round table here where everybody will introduce themselves and the projects that they're working on or anything that they would like to plug. With that said, I'll get started. My name is Fuzzy. My name is also Justin Fondriest. And you can find me on the BitShares Talk forums as Fuzzy or on Steem at Official Fuzzy. I'm working on Beyond Bitcoin as, of course, here, this volunteer initiative. And then in addition to it, I'm working behind the scenes on something called ShareBits.io. And that is essentially a share bot, not a share bot. It is a tipping bot that allows people to essentially send any token that is on the BitShares exchange. So if you're wanting a way of transferring multiple tokens someplace, that's a good way of doing it. We are currently having the bot down so we can polish it up, and we will have the user interface and everything a lot better when we release it in the future. With that said, does anybody else want to get?
Yeah, I'd like to get started, Fuzzy.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan Bahai. I am the president of bunkerchainlabs Incorporated, the company which is heading up the PeerPlays project.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. You're joined by Cryptoprometheus too today. Does Crypto want to step in real quick?
Yeah, I'll just introduce myself. My name's Michael Maloney. I am the communications director for the PeerPlays project. And are we doing introductions here, Fuzzy, before we jump in, or do you want us to just go ahead and jump in and give our update?
Yeah, we're just doing the introductions, and then after the introductions, then we can go in the order of everybody who introduced themselves and wants to provide updates.
Okay, then I will just continue. So hello everybody, my name is Christoph and I'm in charge of managing the program of Echo and BitShares Munich, building all the point of sale systems and so on. And we are very happy to go to Berlin with the full team on Tuesday week. So there are going to be some more news, good news about Echo and BitShares Munich.
Great news, great news. Anyone else? Bytemaster, would you like to provide an update? I mean, provide your information?
Hi, I'm Dan, founder of BitShares and co-founder of Steem.
Thank you. Does anyone else, ElectricChain?
Yeah, sure. Hi, this is Francois in Andorra, and we're the ElectricChain team. Happy to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you.
So I'll get started with our update. I think that's everybody. Is that right, Fuzzy?
Yeah, sounds like, yeah, I was waiting on Rivercat myself, but I don't know if he's here at the moment, so I can always plug him in after the fact if I need to.
Okay.
Feel free to go ahead.
Thanks, Fuzzy. So it's been an exciting time at PeerPlays. We've started our crowdfund last week, and we have some exciting updates today that we've been leading up to regarding our milestones. So there's a couple of things that have happened. We have a new news website where we'll be posting project updates, videos, podcasts of things like this show, Beyond Bitcoin. And of course, it's a place where you can subscribe to our social media channels to keep up to date. And we've also started an international ambassadors program. What we're doing is we're basically looking to hire people who can represent PeerPlays in different languages around the world. So this morning, we published the PeerPlays token allocations and development milestones on the peerplays.com/news website. And we actually just posted it on the Steem network as well. So you could check it out on steemit.com also. Just search for the tag PeerPlays. And we're very excited to announce that we will be share dropping 5% of PeerPlay tokens on BTS holders. So here are the official allocations for PeerPlays tokens. 50% will be going to the 24-day auction crowdfund, which will be launched after the testnet. 20% for this current 2-tier pre-sale that's going on now. 10% to the gaming industry partnerships. 10% for software and business development. 5% on-chain reserve fund, essentially for bootstrapping witness pay. And Mike will talk about that a little bit more going forward. And of course, as I just mentioned, 5% to the BTS share drop. So what we have done is we've broken down the 30% of the original allocation, which was reserved for development in as originally stated, into a finer detail so that you know exactly where each part is going. And so this is where the 5% share drop will be coming from is coming from the original 30. So the BitShares community is one of the best communities that understands graphene and understands that what we are doing is very possible. And we think that the BitShares community is going to bring a lot of value to PeerPlays. So that is all I have for now. But before I hand it off to Michael to talk about development milestones, I'd just like to ask if anyone has any questions about allocations.
Looks like there are no questions. However, I will ask. Oh, well, never mind. Hadrian here says, do you know the BTS snapshot date?
The BTS snapshot date will be announced at a later date. It'll be in the future, but we are going to give at least a 2-week window for everybody prior to the BTS snapshot.
You need to understand that having such a snapshot being public is quite a bad idea because of people are going to sell quite after that. And because we are using BTS as a collateral for bit assets, you are essentially like calling for black swan events. If you recall ProtoShares back in the days, after snapshots we had drops in prices, quite significant drops in prices, and we shouldn't risk that in BTS. So I don't think it is a good idea to have the actual share drop date be publicly known.
The solution that we identified to this is to specify a range. So this month, or define the month that you're going to take the snapshot. At the end of the month, you use some random numbers, say the block ID, it could either be a Bitcoin block ID, just some deterministic, universally accepted number that's somewhat random, to generate the exact day on which the snapshot actually occurs. That way, people won't know when to sell and when to buy. That will smooth out any surges, but I think a 5% share drop on this project. I don't know what the market cap valuation is, but I think it's going to have less than a relatively small impact on the BitShares price.
Yeah, what Bytemaster just described is actually along the lines of what we had in mind. We understand that publishing the actual specific date is a very bad idea, just like Fabian alluded to. So the format is similar to what Bytemaster just described, where there is going to be a window where it's going to happen, but not a specific date.
Does that answer the question there, Hadrian? Or do you have any other follow-ups? Okay. Hash Fury is asking you real quick if you can talk about the ability to play on the test net. Is it going to be possible?
Yes. So I'm going to sort of jump in here, and that's a good segue into the development milestones. So the public test net, we are our official date that we are going for is the 19th of September. On this public test net, it will be a it'll be a centrally hosted graphene chain. All the witnesses will be locally hosted in on the dev servers, and but it will be a publicly accessible. On that testnet will be the graphic user interface, so that users can play the actual game. So the idea behind launching this testnet is there's a number of different reasons. First of all, having the public testing is good for finding bugs that we might not have found. It's always good to sort of have the code vetted and out there. But also specifically, this is going to get people to be able to play and interact and use the smart contracts on the blockchain that we're developing in real time, and to be able to see exactly what's going to be on the blockchain 2 months after that. So so what we have for the first testnet will be the first, well, what we're coining, at least unless someone beats us to the punch here in the next couple months, the first 100% blockchain-based game. It's an internationally recognized game that we're building. We're not we're keeping it a secret which game it is, but it is one that everyone will recognize and know how to play. We have a smart contract that allows players to register for tournaments and wager on the game. A smart contract that matches players together who have registered, combines their buy-ins together into jackpots for the tournaments, and then sends the funds to the winner of the game. And the graphic user interface that will be a hosted wallet, and most probably a desktop client version as well, similar to what the BitShares wallet is right now, for people to be able to use and play. So yeah, the testnet will essentially be all of that hosted on a centrally on a graphene blockchain that is all the witness nodes are in the same place, as opposed to a distributed or decentralized network. So after that testnet is launched, then about a month later, and we've got October 14th as the auction crowd sale date on our milestones, but that's not the final date. That's a pending date, of course, because these milestones are estimates. But in between the testnet and the actual launch of a blockchain, we're going to have the auction crowd sale. So once everyone's been able to go on the testnet and actually play the game and see with their own eyes the reality of what we're building and what is actually going to be taking place fully on blockchain, we're going to have the auction crowd sale. And then when the auction crowd sale is completed, approximately a week after that's completed, we'll be launching the blockchain. And the blockchain itself will contain all of the wagering and tournament and gameplay features that the testnet has. And it will have the ability to wager with the core tokens of the blockchain, as well as user-issued assets, which will allow gateway tokens to be created and wagered. The profit-sharing distribution function, which it takes a percentage of the rake of the jackpots and distributes it to the core token holders, to the accounts of core token holders, it will also distributes it to the witness pay account, which will be part of bootstrapping the witnesses for witness pay. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But the original blockchain will also include the power up token rewards distribution. So power up, remember, is the rewards token that will be required for mega jackpot tournament buy-ins. And these will begin to be distributed with the launch of the blockchain for people playing the original game that we build and becomes the first fully decentralized blockchain-based game. So that will be part of the launch of the initial blockchain, and then the referral program as well, since that's essentially pretty much already built. And that will be built into the first launch of the first blockchain. So so what Jonathan mentioned earlier specifically about let's see, the on-chain reserve fund. So anyone's familiar with BitShares will know about how witnesses are paid and how worker proposals are paid in BitShares. They're paid out of a reserve pool of BTS. Right now there's, I don't know, like roughly 2.5 billion BTS in circulation, but there's actually an additional, I think, 800 or 900 billion BTS in a reserve pool, which are on chain, and there's a limitation to how quickly those tokens can be released. And one of those limitations is a hard-coded limitation based on how many tokens are the maximum that can be released per block. And then the other one is a limitation based on what the voters are willing to vote for in order to send them to different places. In PeerPlays, we will have the worker proposal system, but we're setting it up to limit it to a very, very limited number of tokens per day being able that are able to be put through that. And the reason is because we only are setting up the worker proposal system in order to have stake weighted I guess I'll call it polling, but the ability for the committee members to take a poll of this stake weighted poll of the shareholders, of the token holders, the ability of anyone in the community to take a poll of the token holders. That is all already possible with the worker proposal system. And so, but you need some tokens to be able to use for that simulation, or I'm sorry, you need some a reserve pool in order for that to be possible. And also, the reserve pool will be used to bootstrap the witness pay. So I mentioned this a little bit last week, but when the chain first launches, witnesses, the committee will be able to set an amount of pay for the witnesses. And moving forward, the profit sharing distribution smart contract, which will be used to distribute profits to the core token holders, a modified version of that will also be installed and used to distribute a percentage of the rake fees and network fees to the witnesses themselves. And so eventually the witnesses will be weaned off of the on-chain reserve fund, and that reserve fund will either become obsolete, or the token holders at that stage can vote whether to or not what to do with that. Chances are it'll probably be there as a backup, in for whatever circumstances, there happens to be a slow month or something like that. There's still the opportunity to the ability to pay witnesses from that reserve fund. So what this means, however, is that when the chain is launched, there will actually be 5% of the tokens of the initial allocation won't be liquid, or it won't have the possibility of being liquid when the chain launches. So there's a little bit of actually less tokens that are being that'll be part of the part of the total amount of tokens available at launch. Let's see if I covered everything here on my list. So yeah, well, let's see. We've got, going forward. So we've got a number of things planned here in the coming weeks, and we're going to be all of the information is going to be on the BitShares. I'm sorry, the PeerPlays.com/news site. So if you want to keep up with updates on the project, all of our social channels are good feeds for that. Everything from the news site gets pushed out on social media automatically, so we're able to cater to whatever your preferred channel of notifications are. But also be sure to go and check out that site. It's pretty cool. We've got it set up in this net last week, and we're going to be doing some cool stuff on that site as well. And yeah, if anyone, we really are making an effort to be as available and open to everyone as possible through this whole process. And we really do appreciate feedback, that we get from, especially from you guys, since the BitShares community has a really good insight into what works and what doesn't work. Specifically with graphene, and we've all kind of been through the ups and downs together over these last couple of years, and so there's a lot of value here, and we really appreciate when we're able to get feedback from you guys. So, but in any case, if anyone has any other questions, go ahead and ask them.
Real quick, do you mind if I just jump in here? There is a PeerPlays sub Steem it. Do you guys want people to check that out and try to upvote the content there? Is the PeerPlays, well, not only that, but who would be the official poster for PeerPlays in that environment, just in case somebody starts copying your stories over there and things like that?
So PeerPlays, we actually have a PeerPlays account on Steem it. It's PeerPlays. So anything that's posted by PeerPlays on Steem it is coming through the official channels. Like Jonathan said this morning, we just posted the milestones and allocations document up there. It's the same. We posted the white paper, and all the official announcements will be posted through the PeerPlays account, the account called PeerPlays on Steem it. But yeah, Steem it is something that we're all as excited about, I think, as everyone here, and we want to be able to use that. We actually have put forward the idea of using that as our official forum channel, but as things sort of coalesce here, I think we've discovered in the past, anyone who's looked into this, is that you often can't really force people to go somewhere and talk about things. People are going to go wherever they're going to congregate where they congregate. So we're trying to offer people the opportunity to at least see the information and capture their attention. But as we have more,
Sure.
as we have more people that are involved, and more people that are more people sort of from the outside, from our outreach initiatives, then we're going to be able to sort of funnel them back inwards and back towards Steem it specifically, because that's just such a great opportunity for any project to actually make additional funds from posting their content, and people coming on and reading it, and people commenting. I've seen people making potential for money now just on comments, and so that's going to be a lot of fun stuff, and we're looking forward to all the updates and all of the sort of design updates, as well as these guys put out better and better versions of the Steem it user interface and stuff. So, but for now, yeah, and everything that we post on Steem it, it's really cool. It's this you've got this sort of consecrated copy of something. It's on the blockchain. So when we do anything official, when we have any official documents, there's a record of it there. Everyone can go back and see, and we're very conservative and also adamant about being not going out and saying a lot of things that we can't back up with action. So when we post things on Steem, it's because we've given them careful consideration, and this is where we're at. But anyway, yeah, Steemit is. We will be on Steemit to answer your question, Fuzzy.
I just wanted to say thanks for the share drop.
Definitely.
Yes, thank you very much for supporting the community and the people who produce graphene for you.
Yeah, that's a good. I think that we were. Like I mentioned last week again, most of I think at least half of the members on our team, have also contributed both time and money and efforts towards creating graphene. But at the same time, it's really important to pay for things. I mean, I think it's a good example to set, but it's also an honorable thing. We came to the conclusion that you guys are you guys from a marketing standpoint, we want you guys on our side, but we also want you because you've put in a lot of effort to create this toolkit, this amazing next generation. There's still nothing out there like this. I mean, it's amazing to me that people haven't discovered this yet, and we're hoping that with PeerPlays we can do our part to to get graphene into the minds and awareness of more developers and more people in the cryptocurrency space. So yeah, I mean, it was a decision that wasn't too hard to make. I think we all realized that you guys are an important part of this too, and so we want to be able to include you in the process.
Well, I greatly appreciate it.
Someone asked the question, the only way to get 10 free Steem is by logging in through Facebook. We're going to be adding new ways to get Steem. If you're a Reddit user, you can log in now and get Steem that way. So that's a way that's made available now. Eventually, we're going to add ways to get more Steem to attract users, but we want to wait until the site's a little bit more mature for that. If you don't mind, I'd like to segue into a discussion that's outside of maybe this entire group, but just industry-wide. Because I think the people in this group have learned a lot. I wanted to share my insights on it. You've probably heard of the DAO. The first two letters of the DAO came from me, and they changed the last O, right? When we published the articles on Let's Talk Bitcoin, talk about the decentralized autonomous companies, they changed the O to a C. The C to the O.
So it switched from a company to an organization.
Correct. So I'd like to present an analogy here. But BitShares kind of has its own DAO, and it's already funded to the tune of $3 or $4 million right now. It could be much higher if our market cap was what Ethereum's market cap was, but our reserve fund is effectively what the DAO is. When people are sending money into the DAO, they're getting shares in a reserve fund. And my understanding, anyone here who is more familiar with the project and is invested in it, I'm curious how you expect to actually make a return on it. Because it's going to suffer the same governance issues that BitShares has, perhaps more so. The process of voting on large allocations of money to fund projects is time-consuming, contentious. There's things people want to fund because they like it, even though it has no chance of making a return. You kind of have this communal property. And in my experience, and I think we've learned from BitShares, privatized fee-backed assets tend to work better than trying to fund something out of the global fund. The global funds just creates conflict over how the money's spent.
I think they're gonna have a lot of fun because they have so many different investors. If you look at the Ethereum community, it's a couple of thousands DAO investors. So if they have like something that we experience with the Chinese anti-worker community, then yeah, it's gonna be very funny that they get anywhere at all.
Yeah, so what's really happening is there's a giant black hole that's sucking up money. And then that money is going to be subject to committee and direct democracy, perhaps indirect democracy. The only benefit they have over BitShares is the ability to change the rules on the bureaucratic process. Although technically BitShares even has that ability too. We can hard fork in new rules on how funds can be allocated. Like, for example, the liquidity rewards proposals. If those went through, that'd be a new way to give the DAO power to allocate reserve funds to the liquidity providers. So when you view it from that perspective, all the lessons we've learned from BitShares about decentralized governance of large pools of money through smart contracts are going to apply to the DAO. And I think it's going to be very challenging for the DAO tokens to gain any value relative to the ETH that remains in the fund. So I wouldn't be surprised if ultimately the DAO decides to just return the money to the investors, whatever's left of it. So that's my prediction, is that eventually that's what they're going to vote for. Because the things that they can fund with it, you either fund a smart contract on the blockchain, in which case you're trying to get a revenue from fees. And as I've discussed here and on my blog, micropayments for fees on the blockchain are a major impediment to adoption. Or you're going to fund some private firm that's going to generate profits and then promise to pay it back to the DAO, which in turn makes the DAO kind of like shares in any other corporation, promising to pay the shareholders from the profits. I think it's very challenging to create a successful business, let alone a successful business that's tied up in smart contracts and dependent upon micropayment income. So it should be interesting to see what kinds of on-chain projects they can actually make that can generate a return to the DAO holders of more ETH than went into the funding the contract in the first place. So
sounds like
yeah.
These DAOs or DAOs or however you say it, DAC is just so much easier for me. They have fewer options than BitShares based DACs do.
They have what?
They have fewer options in terms of governance, and pretty much the same options in terms of paying out dividends and things like that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
primarily performance constraints?
Well, they've got that too. You're basically limited to investing in Ethereum-based apps. And Ethereum-based apps inherit all of the liabilities of Ethereum. So it should be an education. Like I feel like coming from this community, we're learning things a year or two ahead of the rest of the industry. Proof of work, going to proof of stake, project funding, continuous funding, problems with decentralized or allocation and politics and committee judgment of things. And so, and recently we've learned with fees, micropayments, that bottleneck. So it will be very interesting to see if the problem was just with our community and how we vote, or if the problems that BitShares has struggled with are human problems that are universal to all such smart contract collectives that try to operate in the way that they're currently operating.
Innovation is evolution. Correct, Ken Code.
Yeah, on one hand, it's painful, and you don't want to see other people have to learn the same mistakes or go through the same, challenges. But on another hand, trials, there's just so many people out there, and there's such a large body of resources and energy and money, and people don't always see the forest for the trees, and or they don't do research, or they're just they have an idea that may or may not work. I mean, I guess we don't know ultimately how these things are going to play out, but I think what you just described, Bytemaster, is looking at it in terms of seeing the system and the structure that they've set up, and wondering about how they're going to solve some of these major challenges that don't seem to be being discussed or addressed from the outset. It'd be one thing if it was like, all right, well, this is what we're doing, and these are going to be the major challenges to this. But I see a lot of one-sided sort of hopefulness that this is all the next thing. But there's just no matter how much money you throw at something, this is not, I guess, understood by a lot of people. But no matter how much money you throw at something, it's not necessarily the money that is going to get you the successful project. I mean, there's almost an architecture that needs to be designed based on the human beings that are interacting with that architecture, and being able to recognize how human beings interact and plan something accordingly. I think is one of the I'll dare say geniuses of some of the things that have been coming out of Blacksburg and the BitShares devs over the last couple of years, and it's painful in some respects, because you do have to design these things as experiments and then go through and suffer the consequences if economically people put time and resources and energy and money into experiments and forget that they are they're set up to prove or disprove something, and the lessons that are learned from that can then be learned to build something greater. But in the meantime, everybody's trying to get rich overnight, or people just want stability, right? I mean, we all are craving that, I think, right now in one form or another. With all the chaos that seems to be building in the economics of the real world around us. So yeah, these really big projects, that's what I see. I think, okay, well, there's a lot of enthusiasm and hope because of all the money that's being collected, and people, just sort of crudely translate that, I think, in their mind as, well, if they've got $50 million, then, whatever, they'll be able to build it. They've got all the resources in the world, but it just doesn't work that way, I think. It doesn't. There's got to be some, greater, keener insight and awareness into, how to build these things. And then also you have to have people that are intelligent enough and aware enough, sort of on the front lines, interacting with these systems. And, if we didn't have people that were shorting bit assets back in, the fall of 2014, then we never would have been able to run the experiment to begin with, and the people that were at that level and able to do that were a very select and small group of people. And, to me, that's kind of been what the BitShares community has been for so long, is people that are really at the forefront and really willing to, even if it costs them money sometimes, willing to take that risk and be on the front lines of discovery in order to sort of forge this path and be able to put together systems that are going to be long lasting and have far reaching consequences. And so that's another reason why we feel it's so valuable to have you guys on board and with PeerPlays specifically, is just because there's just so much insight.
Well, we've already got 2 tokens in the top 20 that are based on graphene technology now. You guys are looking at the third one that'll be out, the graphene based tech. And I think that, is it Muse that's going to be using graphene as well?
Yeah, Muse is already a graphene chain, I believe.
So we've got...
There's certainly a lot of potential with the technology. It's great to see all the different stuff that people are doing in this community. I'm glad to be a part of it and to help grow it as much as we can. I thank everyone for helping try these experiments and understanding that's sort of what this is. And I wanted to say something about the more money people have, it's almost an impediment to success. If you look at the competition to see who could be the first to fly, the Wright brothers did it with almost no money when they were competing against people that were funded by the government. So with so much money, it sort of leads to a brute force mentality of, well, we'll just spend enough money on it and we'll do this and we'll do that, and you'll over-engineer things before you find out if they're really needed or necessary. So a lot of that money gets wasted. We even saw it within BitShares that when we had more money, it was really hard to allocate it and use it efficiently when everyone wanted everything now. Sometimes being restricted in your finances forces you to evaluate what's most important, forces you to innovate, and I guess find growth hacks, figure out how to produce value without massive capital expenditures. So I think those are a lot of the lessons are just human lessons, and I can tell you from 15 years of doing startup type stuff. Early on, I would try to build systems, and they wouldn't fit the people. I'd engineer something that would work in theory, assuming people were robots and were willing to conform to the system that was created. And I think that's a lot of what goes on with a lot of ideas. People have suggested multi-stage commit reveal processes, all these ways of orchestrating smart contracts so you don't have to trust people. But at the end of the day, you're asking people to bend to the structure of your contract, to the timetable enforced by the code, to the process. People don't like to bend. They expect technology to bend to them. So that's my philosophical rant for the day. I need to get going, but thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you. And I would like to use this as a segue to take maybe 20 minutes and give Francois and the ElectricChain people an ability to maybe give a little bit of of information on what they're doing. Would that be a possibility for you right now?
Oh, hi there. Sure, yeah. Definitely looking forward then to the show. Thanks for having us here. So, well, if I can present then the ElectricChain, I'll say a couple of words. How long do we have, or how much can I say? I would say.
Let's go with 20 minutes this time.
Sure.
So we can sit around an hour and a half as opposed to the hour that we generally go toward. But this is these hangouts usually range from an hour, about an hour to 2 hours. So that's perfect in that middle zone.
Understood. Okay. So the ElectricChain is a consultancy, but at the same time an incubator for solar blockchain related projects. What we do is we work with the SolarCoin blockchain to innovate and to set up new projects which are solar powered, basically. So anything related to solar energy in general, in the sense that we understand that solar energy is going to play a very big role, and is already playing a big role, increasing role, I would say, into the world energy markets. What we can say is today there's about 240 gigawatts of solar power worldwide. We're going to, according to the International Energy Association, we're going towards about 5,500 gigawatts. That's in the next 15 to 25 years. That's a target. That's what we need if we want to curb global climate change, if we want to tackle it effectively. And we see obviously the blockchain as something, as a tool, as an efficient tool to tackle this mission. So in effect, the ElectricChain, what it does is it works with the SolarCoin blockchain. We have 13 projects currently being incubated. We have support from the MIT. Actually, this week we just have 6 students from the MIT who are starting to work on the project. Some of the projects, I'll get into that a little bit afterwards. And then we also have support from NASA as well in regards to projects which we want to deliver with them. So that's really a high overview, I would say, about it. The main thing which we want to do with the ElectricChain at this point in time is, and in using the blockchain, is to set up a blockchain communicating data logger. In effect, it's already working. So we've tested it for the past 8 months in Japan. That's our associate, Luke Johnson, with Sol Crypto, who has done the testing. And so what it does is it records solar energy values, solar energy production through the data logger. so through the inverter of a solar installation and the data logger, and immediately records those values onto the blockchain. What we're doing is we're using the IOTA Tangle, so that's I would say blockchain version 2.0. It's more fluid and allows for constant streaming of information, which is obviously something which grid operators will appreciate. So that's, I would say, the fast, fluid transport of data. But then we also use the SolarCoin blockchain. We mirror certain values the target is on a 15-minute basis to record the production values to the SolarCoin blockchain, in effect to grant SolarCoins then to the solar installer, to the solar installer owners then. So this data logger, we're presenting it on May 30th, so in 15 days in Brussels, in Belgium, at the iCleanTech cluster. It's as the name represents, it's a clean tech cluster of large energy corporations. That's a first venue. Then the second event we're presenting 2 days after in London, at a hackathon. So present over there is going to be RWE, which is a large German utility. We're also going to be presenting that with Chain of Things. They're helping us on the PR. And then in conjunction with IOTA, obviously, and Bitseed. That's really the big project which we have, the central project, I would say. And with this, what we aim to do is to implement this data logger, blockchain communicating data logger towards the inverter industry. The inverter industry is quite large already. Obviously, it's set to expand, but it suffers from a very a major problem. It's the fact that each inverter or each brand and even sometimes each model of inverter actually has its own communications protocol. And in effect, what the blockchain allows for is to standardize this communications protocol and to deliver solar energy values, solar energy production values directly then to the monitoring company. So it's a tool to simplify. The blockchain is, in this view, is a tool to simplify the transport and the transmission of data. That's one thing. Now, in effect, we're going to be testing it on the field. We have a project in West Africa with a young company. The company is called Solarly. The website is solarly.io. And what they aim to do is to implement this blockchain communicating data logger on a DC solar kit. So their goal is to use the blockchain to communicate production values, as well as to use it as a tool to microfinance these solar installations on the ground. So in Africa, they're doing this across. They're doing the testing across the summer with 30 kits, and that's another. I would say another live project using this data logger. The ElectricChain is also delivering on another project we've just started this week with crowdfunding platforms. We're in discussion with the Sun Exchange in South Africa. They want to grant SolarCoins through their crowdfunding platform to solar installation owners. And then we're also started in partnership with Lumo France, which is one of the main renewable energy crowdfunding platforms. So what they do is they finance solar installations through bonds. So basically the bond holders own a percentage of the solar installation. And what Alex over there, so the CEO there, wants to do is to enable these bond holders to own, to claim solar coins as well in percentage, so in direct relation to the investment, so to their bond value then that they have in this solar installation. So working on that, we also have some MIT students working on this. In integrating basically the SolarCoin distribution onto the Lumo platform. Now, this is a test. If this works out with the Lumo platform, we will extend to other crowdfunding platforms, in the sense that Alex is also the president of the European crowdfunding network. So we could develop this to a further 100, more than 100 actually, crowdfunding platforms across Europe, to the extent that solar coins could be distributed then to the solar installations, solar installation owners. That's some exciting projects. We're moving ahead on that. We also have a couple of side projects as well. So, for example, granting solar coins to the International Space Station, which is more of a symbolic value, I would say, in regards to the amount of solar coins. But it is a technological feat, because that means having a solar coin node in space. We also have a student over there from Stanford who is going to join on the Ames Research Center to undertake this. Couple of other projects with NASA is also granting solar coins into the Ames Research Center. That's basically what we're working on with the ElectricChain then. As a side of that, we obviously are also moving ahead with the claims facilitators, so SolarChain and SolCrypto. And just next week, SolarChain will be integrating a very, very large accelerator in Israel. And we'll have more on that next week then. That's it for me. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer, definitely.
I know I
have
have.
Go ahead, Buzzy.
Go ahead, Crypto.
Okay. I think we're getting a lot of background noise here. I'm not sure. Oh, okay, we're better. So yeah, I guess I was just I had a sort of question to clarify the process. So you talked about having these data loggers that are by the plugged into the inverters, or they pull the data off of the PV arrays, and they log exactly what the production is, right? And so then this information is being logged to the blockchain, and these solar coins are being created. Is this electricity itself then being fed back onto the grid? And are these solar coins being used to represent that the ability to claim that electricity or power or whatever from a particular power company? Or how is the value being represented, and how can you claim the value, or how can you take delivery, so to speak, or is there some other way in which this is set up that I haven't described correctly?
Sure. So in regards to that, the solar coins are really distributed in depending on the amount of power produced. So if you have say a solar installation in Belgium, where I'm from, you would get 900 kilowatt hours per megawatt installed. So you would get 0.9 SolarCoin, per kilowatt installed. So you would get 0.9 SolarCoin per kilowatt per year. That's what you would get. If you're here in Andorra, you would get almost twice that value, and that's how many solar coins you get. Now, this distribution is completely independent from the electricity meter itself. So what happens is you will get paid for net metering, for example, in Canada or in Germany, we're talking about a feed-in tariff. So you will get paid for the electricity and the amount of electricity which you're feeding into the grid. And SolarCoin is an added bonus to that. It's an incentive. It's an additional incentive for creating how would I say, more solar power across the world. Does that answer your question then?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
And then what can you do with the solar coins? Like just to confirm, are you actually the guys from SolarChange.co? Are you going to be in Berlin next Tuesday?
Yes, so that's right. We're going to be in one of our developers, Uri, is going to be in Berlin next Tuesday on the 23rd. We will be also attending the IoT conference in Berlin on the 13th and 14th of June, and also going to the Intersolar in Munich. That's where, so we have a booth actually at the IoT in Berlin, and the Intersolar, we will have a speech done by our CEO over there. And so, yeah, to respond to your question, what you can do right now with your solar coins is really stash them. So because there's a very low value to them. We expect the value to pick up as the network grows. So the larger the network, the larger the value of the network, and so the larger the value of each individual coin. And what we'll be able to do is, at this moment in time, exchange them, like any crypto, I would say, and work with them through Bitcoin then, or through any other currency then.
So do you envision it basically like a CO2 certificate, so that companies who are basically having a really bad energy balance or energy footprint can buy those solar coins and to redeem some of their waste?
Not necessarily as a carbon offsetter in that sense, but more as an SREC or a solar renewable energy certificate. In Belgium or in Romania, in those markets, we're talking about a green certificate. The idea is really for SolarCoin to be an incentive, an additional incentive, a digital asset to promote solar energy. So more than I would say without the perturbations of the market of these green certificates being traded against, or carbon credits being traded against pollution values. The idea is to go beyond that in stimulating more solar power throughout the world. Currently, we have about 7 million solar installations already, which isn't bad. But the idea is to stimulate more growth into the energy market, and to the extent that most objects are going to have the ability of having solar cells on them, be it your car, your phone screen, or your windows, for example, in your house, just to name a few examples. To that extent, it also means that any of these applications would de facto also be able to produce solar coins then. So in effect, it's not only the solar installation which we're targeting, but also consumer goods around the solar industry.
Well, that sounds definitely like a very interesting project. I'm looking forward to hear or learn more about that. We're also going to be in Berlin next Tuesday for the GTAC, for the blockchain award, and we're going to present Echo with the whole team. So it's going to be very interesting to meet and to catch up with other blockchain startups there as well in Berlin next Tuesday.
Sure. Sorry, we will also be on Tuesday. So. That's our CTO who is going to be on Tuesday, who you will meet over there then. Definitely.
Oh, sounds good.
Well, it's glad to hear you guys are potentially starting meetups or little group conversations anyway.
Definitely. So from my side, I mean, if you can ping perhaps your email address in the ping, if that's allowed, that's great. Definitely.
Of course.
Cool.
Of course. What I will say is I would love if anything comes from you guys all talking together, that you, whenever you decide to update the community about any of this stuff, it would be great.
Oh yeah, sure. So from our side, if this is okay, we'll have one representative from our community also next week. That's to be Asaf. He will also comment on SolarChain in integrating a big accelerator program for the next 6 months. And the week after, we suggest our partner in Japan to explain also the views in Japan with SolarCoin as well.
Out of curiosity, SolarCoin it started out as proof of work, and now it's essentially proof of stake, with a new kind of proof of work way of also getting them, right, by having your own solar system.
Correct.
So out of curiosity, have you guys looked into delegated proof of stake at all and the use cases that you might have available for that?
Sure. So what we're looking at is really a proof of generation, actually. And we couple that to the proof of stake in the sense that you can stake your claim and get 2% interest. But at the same time, it's really proof of generation because you, in effect, you rely on the power output of the solar installation to generate these solar coins. So we're in effect pushing the use of these data loggers for that purpose. Correct.
Interesting. Oh, if you can hold on one moment. I've got I don't know if you guys can hear the helicopter that decided to go above my head.
Well, not from here. We're happy to explain more on these projects. So basically starting this week with 13 exciting projects.
Well, I'll say this. One thing that I am looking forward to is hearing more updates from you guys in the future. Would you guys be interested in joining up and potentially representing the SolarCoin community in the Beyond Bitcoin Hangouts?
Oh yeah, sure, definitely. With a lot of pleasure, definitely, and we'll definitely update on what's going on in the round. We have a couple of exciting weeks ahead. We also have a lot of work to do in registering solar installations, but we're on the right track. So yeah, definitely, with a lot of pleasure.
Well, I'll also say this, and I was talking to one of the people who is a big volunteer member of your community. At least he's been very active with working with me, and his name is Roman. I told him the other day that it was possible to essentially have a SolarCoin exchange using the BitShares wallet, and you could essentially have all different coins and stuff that are traded on BitShares. You could essentially have pairings with SolarCoin, and everybody could make money from that wallet in the SolarCoin community.
Yeah, sure. That's a great idea. Actually, that's more of a project which could be handled by SolarChain, in the sense that it's really super SolarCoin focused, or concentrated, I would say. But that's a great idea. We look forward to doing that. I'm sure Yao will be able to work with and to explain the developments. Perhaps not next week, but the week after, to have our CTO then or perhaps in 3 weeks, sorry, to have our CTO on the show to explain that. And here I really wanted to explain what the ElectricChain projects are. So the blockchain, SolarCoin blockchain related projects are. But that's definitely a great idea as well, because it helps building the SolarCoin network, and the number of solar owners then working with these SolarCoins. So that's great, definitely.
Can you give all the sort of website information and where to go to find out about all this? Specifically, I'm curious about if people can go and get these data loggers, or if there's a program set up where if someone has a PV array on their house or business that they can participate in this.
Sure. So the data logger is in its works. As I was mentioning, we're presenting this in Brussels at the end of the month and in London. So we expect to have a commercialization of this data logger by the end of the year. So it is going to take some time. I mean, that's pretty fast by industry standards to be able to produce it so soon. But the real idea behind that is really to work with inverter manufacturers in integrating this communications protocol, blockchain related, obviously, because that will make it easier for them as well. The ElectricChain website is electricchain.org. At this point, it's still one page, but we're having that modified. We'll have that up by the end of this month, actually, a new website. Also explaining all the projects which are going on in there, as well as the partners with which we're working. Then we have the claims facilitators, so solarchange.co. That's for US, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And then we also have Sol Crypto, which is in Japan, Asia Pacific. That's also a claims facilitator. And then the SolarCoin Foundation in New York, then that's solarcoin.org.
Yeah, thank you, Cryptoprometheus, for having him provide this information. And also, thank you to all of you for showing up today. We're sitting at about an hour and 45 minutes, which is under the 2 hours that is possible. So with that said, does anybody have any questions or comments? All right. Well, if there are no more questions or comments, then I'm going to thank you all for attending. Obviously, all of us are crypto nerds, and when we band together, we're going to build amazing things together. So the simple fact that we have 30 to 40 people joining up every week to do this, and that we're only going to grow as we bring other projects on board, makes me very pumped up. So thank you very much for being part of this, guys.
Thanks, Fuzzy.
Yeah, thank you, Fuzzy.
You, Brindle. And thank you, Crypto. But don't think, Crypto, that this is going to keep me from hosing you in a game of whatever. I'm thinking it's backgammon, but you can't tell me yet. But when PeerPlays comes out with this game, your thank yous are not going to be remembered at that moment in time. The challenge is still in existence, buddy.
You're going down.
And the PeerPlays people will win both ways from it. Regardless of whether I win or you win, man, at least the PeerPlays holders will make money.
We all win. Yeah, that's right.
All right, guys. Talk to you guys later. And don't worry, Hadrian. We've got the recording that's going to be coming up. And just for all of you guys, I'm going to be posting Beyond Bitcoin news and other things that are going to be going up on the steemit.com site under the Beyond Bitcoin sub-steemit. So if you guys upvote content that you, and I see that it becomes very popular, I will be reaching out to the individuals who are responsible to bring them on as guest speakers, and we'll pay a little bit of that to them as well. So whatever is earned on Steem, we'll direct that way. Excuse me?
So what do you guys think about Steem? Do you like the platform? Is it something to really invest a lot more time into it?